Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026.
Yep.
And I actually want you to just look at your calendar for a second. We are already almost entirely through the first quarter of the year.
I know. It really feels like we just toasted to the new year, like yesterday.
It totally does. And if you are feeling a little, let's say, breathless trying to keep up with the industrial and digital landscape right now, you are definitely not alone. The pace has just been relentless.
It has. I mean, 2026 has really come out swinging.
Which is exactly why I'm so excited about the document we're covering today.
Mm-hmm.
It landed on my desk a few days ago, and I'll be honest with you, it felt like a splash of ice water.
In a good way, though, right?
Yeah, in a highly necessary way.
Yeah.
So it's a report titled Hard Truths from the Factory Floor,
Right.
the 2026 AI Playbook. And right off the bat, the title kind of tells you this isn't your standard consulting firm fluff.
No, definitely not. I've read through this twice now, and fluff is absolutely not the word I would use. It's abrasive, it's very direct, and it's incredibly specific.
Right. And what drew me to this is the source material itself. We aren't looking at a report from some theoretical think tank or a glossy boardroom presentation where everything is just going up and to the right.
Right.
This comes from a senior mechanical design engineer and AI integration strategist.
Which, by the way, is a super rare combination of title.
It really is. This is someone with over 12 years of experience bridging the gap between actual physical hardware, we're talking about robotics, bioprinting, ADAS systems, and digital intelligence.
And that is the key distinction for me here. This is the perspective of a literal factory floor practitioner, someone who actually has to make things work at 2 in the morning when a server crashes or a servo motor jams.
Exactly.
It's not about the hype for them, it's about the yield. Does the thing actually work or doesn't it?
And the tone of the report reflects that perfectly. I actually laughed out loud when I started reading it because the author explicitly bans certain words. There's a literal do not use list right at the top of the document.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's quite a list.
It is. We are strictly forbidden today from using words like delve, harness, unleash, paradigm shift, and game changer.
Which is going to be a massive challenge for us for the rest of this deep dive because those words are basically the oxygen of the tech industry right now.
I feel like I have to constantly retrain my brain just to talk about this stuff without them. But I really love the constraint. The report says, and I quote, "No one here needs a dictionary or a hug."
It assumes intelligence and it rewards attention. It's really refreshing.
So our core mission today is to respect that rule. We are going to look at this totally no-nonsense view of where we stand right now in February 2026. And specifically, we're looking at what the report calls the investment paradox.
Right. That's the big macro picture we're dealing with.
Exactly. We are seeing AI spending completely doubling, yet the financial benefits are lagging or honestly just non-existent for the majority of these companies. We need to figure out why that is happening.
And we don't have forever to figure it out either. The report heavily highlights this 90-day window between right now and April 2026. It argues that this specific period is incredibly critical for operators to pivot from doing cool demos to building actual regulated infrastructure.
That part actually scared me a little bit, the whole idea of a separation event.
Well, it should scare you. We are rapidly moving past the tourism phase of AI. The next 3 months are going to completely separate the disciplined operators, the ones building real value, from the ones who are just burning cash on AI tourism.
Okay, so let's get right into the numbers. Because when I saw the data on this investment paradox, I actually had to double check the source material. It seemed, it seemed really bad.
It is bad. If you look at the macro view for 2026, corporate AI spending has doubled. So back in 2025, it was about 0.8% of total revenue.
Okay.
Now in 2026, we are sitting at roughly 1.7% of revenue.
So just to put that in perspective for you, if you are a Fortune 500 company doing, say, $50 billion in revenue, you are spending almost $1 billion on AI this year.
Correct. The cash hose is fully wide open.
But here is the major ouch statistic. The report states that 56% of these firms report zero financial benefit from these implementations. Just zero.
It's a staggering disconnect.
I really have to push back on this, though. Like zero, really. Not low return, but actual zero. How is that even physically possible? If I spend $1 billion building a new factory, I'd at least have a factory.
Right.
How do you spend that much on AI and get literally nothing?
Because you aren't buying a factory, you're buying software licenses, you're buying compute, and you're paying consultants. The report calls this pilot purgatory.
Okay.
We've heard the term before, but the 2026 numbers are just brutal. Only 25% of pilots are actually moving to production.
That is up from 18% last year, though, right?
It is improving, sure. But flip that number around. It means 75%, 3 out of every 4 initiatives are just dying on the vine. They work in a closed sandbox, everyone claps at the presentation, and then they try to actually integrate it into the legacy system and it fails. Or it hallucinates wildly. Or the legal department just outright kills it.
So if I'm a shareholder looking at this, I'm thinking, stop spending immediately. But they aren't stopping.
No, not at all. 94% of firms are maintaining or actively increasing their spend, regardless of the ROI.
That sounds completely irrational. If I told you that you had a 56% chance of just setting your money on fire, you wouldn't make that bet.
It definitely looks irrational on a spreadsheet, but it's highly psychological. The report nails this aspect. It's the fear of obsolescence.
Right.
50% of executives actually believe their tenure, their literal job security, depends on AI outcomes.
So it's basically defensive spending.
It's don't fire me spending. They aren't spending to grow. They are spending to survive. They are terrified that if they stop, they just die. They would much rather waste money and look busy than save money and look completely obsolete.
That creates a incredibly high-pressure environment inside these companies. And interestingly, the report notes that 75% of CEOs are now the primary AI decision makers. This has moved out of the IT department completely.
Yeah, it used to be just an experimental budget line for the CTO, right? Here's $5 million, go play with some language models.
Exactly.
Now it is a board-level survival metric. But there's a huge nuance here that separates the winners from the losers. The report makes a very clear distinction between surface augmentation and deep restructuring.
Surface augmentation sounds like what I see most of the time out there.
It absolutely is. The report says 37% of companies are doing exactly this. It's basically just slapping a chatbot on top of existing broken processes.
Like saying our customer service is terrible, so let's put an AI in front of it to apologize to people faster.
Exactly that. And those are the companies seeing zero return. Because if your core process is broken, automating, it just means you break things at the speed of light.
Versus the 34% who are doing what they call deep restructuring.
Yes, these are the ones actually seeing the big wins. They aren't just adding AI like a coat of paint. They're fundamentally changing how the company actually works to fit the capability of the technology.
Right.
They're completely rewriting the workflow from the ground up, not just the user interface.
So the real lesson here is, if you are just buying tools to sprinkle on top of your existing mess, you're just going to have a much faster, much more expensive mess.
Precisely. You cannot automate a mess. You have to clean it up first.
This whole idea of messy reality versus clean software leads us to a concept in the report that I absolutely love, the flatland effect.
Oh man, this is such a great mental model.
It refers to capital being trapped in 2D software. Can you explain what flatland means in this specific context?
Sure. So it's a major critique of the SaaS model, software as a service, that we've lived with for the last 15 years.
Okay.
Think about it. Screens are flat. Code is purely logical. In Flatland, everything is perfectly clean. If there is a bug, you just fix the line of code, press save, and it's perfect again.
It's the Ctrl-Z reality, the undo button.
Exactly. But the report argues we are currently hitting SaaS-Margeddon. Because AI can generate code so efficiently now, the profit margins in horizontal SaaS, which is generic software that serves everybody, are compressing down to zero.
Why is that?
Because it's simply too easy to build software now.
So if software is easy to build, it becomes inherently less valuable.
In a sense, yes. The scarcity is gone. If I can prompt an AI to build a custom CRM for my business in a single afternoon, why on earth would I pay Salesforce $50 a seat forever?
That is a very valid question.
So the flatland effect basically means that investing in pure 2D software is yielding rapidly diminishing returns. The value is migrating.
Where is it migrating to?
It's moving to vertical AI, sovereign infrastructure, and crucially physical world capacity.
You mean atoms, not just bits?
Real tangible things. The report argues that the competitive moat is no longer product features. It's not about having a slicker dashboard anymore. The new moat is proprietary data combined with deeply embedded workflows out in the physical world.
There's a fantastic anecdote in the source material that illustrates this perfectly.
Yeah.
It contrasts the tech world's obsession with ChatGPT competitors against a company called AMP Robotics.
Yes, this is what the author calls the unsexy truth of 2026. While everyone was totally freaking out about chatbots and language models, writing poetry or passing the bar exam, A&P Robotics, was quietly deploying AI vision across over 400 recycling facilities.
Right. They aren't trying to pass the Turing test. They're just trying to sort trash.
And that turns out to be a trillion-dollar opportunity. Think about the sensory chaos of a recycling plant.
It smells. It's incredibly loud. The lighting is usually terrible. Everything is crunched up and covered in dirt.
Exactly. It is the exact opposite of flatland. It is messy, chaotic reality. And A&P's robots use computer vision to identify and sort recyclables at speeds that no human worker can ever match.
Wow.
They took a dangerous, highly inefficient, dirty job and turned it into a precision operation.
And the report specifically says these trillion-dollar opportunities are covered in dirt.
Waste management, manufacturing, heavy agriculture. These industries aren't trending on social media. You don't see influencers posting about revolutionary yield optimization and commercial corn sorting.
No, you really don't.
But that is exactly where the efficiency gaps are massive, and that is where the AI investment actually pays off. Because you are solving a messy physics problem, not just a clean text problem.
So the big takeaway for investors and operators listening to this is you have to stop chasing the hype. Look for the massive inefficiencies in industrial parks at 4 in the morning.
That is where the actual lasting value is being generated right now, not in just building another wrapper for a language model.
Now, if we are fundamentally moving from flatland out onto the factory floor, that completely changes who actually needs to do the work. The report has a section on workforce transformation that is pretty blunt.
It starts with a really heavy statistic from the World Economic Forum. 54% of global employees need significant reskilling by 2026.
More than half the workforce.
Yeah, it's a massive number. And it specifically points out who is most at risk. And spoiler alert, it's not the blue-collar workers in the recycling plant.
No, their jobs are totally safe for now because physical robots are still extremely expensive to deploy at scale. The real risk is in entry-level engineering, copywriting, and marketing.
The laptop class.
Exactly. But I want to talk about the solution the report proposes here.
Yeah.
Because usually when we hear about reskilling, the default answer is everybody needs to learn how to code.
Right. Just learn Python and you'll be fine.
But this report says the exact opposite. It talks about the rapid decline of the hyper-specialist and the rise of what it calls the strategic generalist.
This is a crucial shift to understand. The report calls out something called tool fatigue.
What's that?
It means operators are actively rejecting AI wrappers, those single-purpose micro apps, and they are just building their own custom automations using connective tools like Zapier or NA.
So the logic is if I can easily build my own tool, I don't need to buy your subscription.
Exactly. But it also means that if you are a human specialist who only knows how to do one highly specific task, say writing SEO blogs or coding basic HTML, an AI can probably do that task much faster now.
So the hyper-specialist is in real trouble.
But the strategic generalist, someone who can connect the dots, orchestrate different AI agents, and understand the entire end-to-end workflow, is suddenly incredibly valuable.
The value metric is shifting.
Right. It's moving away from task execution and toward the orchestration of autonomous agent fleets.
There is a story in the notes that I think just perfectly illustrates this shift. The science project team.
I love this example so much. It completely breaks down so many corporate stereotypes.
So it describes a project team consisting of a very shy coder, a highly charismatic presenter, like a classic sales type, and a visual artist.
Okay, so just picture this. In a traditional corporate silo, these three people basically never interact. The coder is down in the basement, the sales guy is out on the golf course, and the artist is up in the marketing loft.
And they strictly stay in their lanes. The coder only codes, the presenter only talks, and the artist only draws.
But in this specific example, they were put together to model a complex climate solution, and they used AI as a bridge between their skills.
How did that work exactly?
Well, normally the charismatic presenter might have a really great strategic idea for the model, but he literally can't write a line of code, so he's completely useless in the actual build phase.
Right.
But by using AI coding assistance, he could actually build a working rough prototype to show the coder.
And the shy coder.
She might understand the underlying data perfectly, but really struggle to explain it to non-technical stakeholders. So she used AI to draft the narrative and the presentation script.
And then the artist.
The artist used AI to visualize the complex data in real time, which then fed back into the coder's logic structure.
So they didn't just do their own specific jobs faster. They actually trespassed into each other's territory.
Exactly. The report refers to AI as a scholarship program for everyone. It completely removes the traditional gates of technical pedigree. The barrier to entry for coding just dropped to zero. The barrier to entry for professional writing dropped to zero.
So if all those technical barriers are gone, what is actually left to differentiate us?
Cognitive style. That is the key insight of 2026. You aren't hiring for Java skills or Photoshop skills anymore. You are hiring for how people inherently think.
Okay, break that down.
Well, the coder naturally thinks logically and structurally. The artist thinks laterally and spatially. The presenter thinks narratively.
And when you put those three distinct brains together without all the usual technical friction slowing them down, you basically get a super brain.
You get a generalist squad. The report references a really interesting MIT study finding that AI helps diverse teams surface usable ideas 70% faster.
70%.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's not about the individual lone genius anymore. The absolute most important degree to have in 2026 is collaboration.
The report says, and this is a quote, "Our new credential is the track record of what we've built as a we." That is a massively powerful shift for HR department.
It really is. It means the traditional job description as we know it is totally dead. If you are hiring a senior writer and checking their resume for 5 years of ad agency experience, you are looking at entirely the wrong metrics.
What should you look for instead?
You should be looking for a strategic thinker who knows how to orchestrate a fleet of AI writers to produce a massive campaign.
Orchestrating a fleet. That sounds very grand.
It is the new reality, though, which brings us perfectly to the underlying technology that actually allows this to happen. We are moving from AI as a simple tool to what they call agentic workflows.
Software is labor.
That is the exact phrase. Software that doesn't just help you do the work, it actually does the work for you. The prediction in the report is that 40% of enterprise applications will feature fully autonomous AI agents by the end of this year.
But, and this is incredibly huge, but there is a massive warning attached to this in the report. And this is where we have to talk about the EV anecdote from Bengaluru.
Oh man, this story is the absolute centerpiece of the entire report for me. It's where the rubber meets the road. Literally.
Walk us through what happened.
So you have this highly funded startup in Bengaluru building a cutting-edge electric vehicle. They have an amazing team of brilliant firmware engineers. The actual code they wrote is clean, optimized, and elegant.
It's perfect flatland logic.
Exactly, perfect flatland logic. But they run into a huge problem during testing. The car battery is draining from full to empty in 2 hours instead of the expected 8 hours. The car is just bleeding energy while it's completely parked.
So naturally, the software engineers assume it's a software bug.
Of course they do. They dive straight into the system logs. They check the sleep cycles of the onboard computer. They check the wake commands.
And what do they find?
The logs clearly show the car door is opening and closing over and over again all night long.
But the car is just parked in an empty, secure garage.
Right, nobody is there. So they recheck the code. The code says if the door sensor is triggered, wake up the main computer.
Which makes sense.
The logic is totally sound, but the car essentially thinks a ghost is opening the door every few seconds.
And what turned out to be the actual physical problem.
It wasn't the code at all. It was a tiny plastic lever inside the physical door mechanism, a 10-cent piece of injection molded polymer.
A 10-cent part.
Yeah, hit a microscopic crack in it. Maybe it was a bad manufacturing batch, maybe it warped in the heat, but that tiny crack caused the lever to slip just enough to repeatedly trigger the electronic sensor.
So technically speaking, the sensor was telling the computer the truth.
From the sensor's limited perspective, yes. But from physical reality's perspective, no. The computer stayed awake, constantly draining the massive battery because of a tiny physical hardware failure.
Now, this sounds like a pretty standard engineering headache. Why is it featured so prominently in an AI strategy report?
Because of what it directly implies for agentic workflows, we are rapidly building AI agents that are empowered to make real-world decisions based on data feeds.
Right.
If the data says the door is open, the AI completely believes the door is open.
It doesn't have human common sense. It doesn't just look out the window and say, hey, nobody's actually standing by the car.
Exactly. It suffers from what the author calls input hallucination. The report warns that solid firmware needs solid foundations.
Meaning the physical hardware.
Right. As we move to highly autonomous software agents, the physical reality of where that data comes from simply cannot be ignored anymore.
It's the old garbage in, garbage out principle, but applying to physical sensors and hardware.
It's even deeper than that, really. It's about entropy versus code. Code itself doesn't degrade. code doesn't rust over time.
The physical sensors do.
Exactly. Plastic levers do. If you build a completely autonomous financial AI agent that triggers a massive market sell-off based on a specific data feed, and that data feed glitches because a rat chewed a physical cable somewhere.
You just crashed the global market over a rat.
You did.
Oh, man.
The report says we are currently building glass cannons, systems that are incredibly powerful but structurally fragile.
So what is the actionable advice here for companies? If I'm a product leader today, how do I stop my 10-cent plastic lever from destroying my entire AI strategy?
You have to explicitly design the system for failure. The report strongly suggests picking just one single workflow for Q1, like, say, automated invoice processing, and designing it end-to-end around an AI agent.
Just one to start.
Yes,
Yeah.
but, and this is the vital key you need to build in an immutable audit log and a clear rollback path.
The rollback path.
You need a big red emergency button that says stop. And critically, every agent needs a named human owner.
A human owner.
You cannot just set it and forget it in 2026. Someone has to be legally and operationally responsible if the agent starts hallucinating or if the plastic lever breaks.
Right.
You need a human in the loop who can look at the crazy logs and say, wait a minute, why is the door opening 1,000 times an hour? This makes no sense.
So, ironically, the more autonomous our software actually becomes, the more rigorous our human governance needs to be.
Exactly. Which segues us perfectly into the next major section of the report, the governance crunch. Because if we are having software act as independent labor, we desperately need rules for that labor.
And 2026 certainly seems to be the year of the rules. The report calls this massive shift privacy as infrastructure.
I really like that framing a lot. Infrastructure.
Yeah, it implies it's load-bearing. It's not just a stack of paperwork in a filing cabinet.
Right. In the past, digital compliance was purely a legal exercise. You paid an expensive lawyer to write a 50-page terms of service that literally nobody ever read, and you forced users to check a box.
I agree to the terms. Click.
But now with major regulations sitting all at once, it's not about checking a box. It's about fundamental software engineering.
Let's break down the landscape. In the EU, the AI Act is kicking in fully by August 2026.
Yes.
But the India IT Rules Amendment really caught my eye. Mandatory 3-hour deepfake takedowns.
That is an insanely fast timeline. If a highly convincing deepfake of a major politician pops up on your social platform, you have exactly 180 minutes to find it, verify it's fake, and kill it globally.
You physically cannot do that with a human review team.
You can't. You need AI to actively police AI.
So compliance truly becomes a core engineering problem. You need automated detection systems that are deeply woven into the platform's infrastructure.
Exactly. The report also brings up a term that I hear a lot in high-level security circles, but I really want to break it down clearly for you here. Zero trust security.
This feels critical to understand. The report uses the analogy of the embassy to explain it.
Yes, I love this analogy. Okay, so walk me through the embassy.
So think about how most companies used to do digital security. They used a VPN, a virtual private network.
Right.
It's basically like a castle with a moat around it.
Once you cross the drawbridge, you are safely inside.
Exactly. Once you type in your company password and get onto the VPN, the network completely assumes you are a good guy. You can roam around, access files, check the servers.
It's a soft, chewy center inside a hard, crunchy shell.
That's a great way to put it. But the report says an AI-powered attack in 2026 can bypass a traditional VPN in 9 seconds.
9 seconds. Because AI can now execute sophisticated spear phishing attacks at massive scale. They steal a valid credential, they log in, and the VPN just says, "Welcome back, Bob."
But it's obviously not Bob.
No, it's an autonomous AI agent from a state-sponsored hacker group. And because the network inherently trusts Bob, the agent can quietly download every single file before the IT team even finishes their morning coffee.
So how does the embassy model do things differently?
Think about visiting a physical high-security embassy in a foreign country. You don't just flash a badge at the front gate and then get to wander the halls freely.
No, you go through a metal detector. They check your ID against a list.
And then you are only allowed in the public lobby. You can't just stroll into the ambassador's private office.
Correct.
If you want to go back there, you need another security check. You probably need an armed escort.
And they are closely watching your behavior the entire time.
Exactly. That is identity-driven zero trust. It continuously authenticates your identity. It constantly checks your device health, like, is your laptop infected with malware right now? And crucially, it monitors your behavior pattern.
The behavior monitoring seems like the key defense against AI hackers here.
It is the main defense. If Bob usually logs in from New York at 9 in the morning and casually reads his email, but suddenly Bob is logging in from a server in Shanghai at 3 in the morning and trying to download the entire corporate payroll database.
The embassy security tackles him.
Exactly. The system says, I don't care if you type the correct password. This behavior is highly anomalous. Access denied.
So for the 90-day playbook, what exactly should corporate leaders be doing right now regarding governance?
For the corporate level, you need an immediate AI inventory. You need to map out exactly where large language models are currently touching your customer data.
And for the board of directors?
You need to mandate an AI risk heat map. And you have to tie every single AI use case to hard P&L metrics. Cost saved or revenue lifted, no more vanity metrics.
And investors need to be asking startups for their model and data inventories before writing any checks.
Prioritize the founders who treat strong governance as a core product advantage, not a legal hurdle.
Now, trust is essentially the currency
That's
here,
right.
which brings us to the digital world and how we actually find information. Because if I can't trust the content I see online, the whole digital economy system breaks.
The report confidently declares the death of SEO.
Search engine optimization. The thing every digital marketer has been obsessing over for 20 solid years.
Totally dead, or at least zombie walking at this point.
The numbers in the report definitely support that. 44% of digital properties are currently seeing flat or rapidly declining traffic.
And we all know exactly why. Generative AI search intercepts.
I mean, I do this myself all the time now. I Google a complex question, and there's a neat AI summary right at the top of the page. I read the summary, I get my answer, and I immediately leave. I almost never click the blue links anymore.
That is the zero-click economy in action. The report says 20% of daily search queries are never seen before.
Meaning what?
Real-time, highly specific intent, and the AI just answers them perfectly on the fly without needing to send you to a website.
So if I'm a business that completely relies on organic blog traffic, I'm in massive trouble.
You are functionally invisible. The old game of stuffing 50 keywords into a mediocre blog post is entirely over. The new game is LLMO.
Large language model optimization. How do you even optimize for a black box language model, though?
You have to become the definitive source of truth. You have to be cited by high authority platforms. But more importantly, you have to radically change where you actually publish your thoughts.
Right.
The report talks heavily about strategic resonance on closed platforms like LinkedIn.
It mentions that posting external links on social platforms now suppresses your reach by about 60%.
This is the walled garden problem.
Wow.
LinkedIn, X, Instagram, they absolutely do not want you to leave their app. If you post a link saying, click here to read my full blog, the algorithm actively buries your post.
So you have to put all the actual value directly in the post itself.
Right. It's zero-click consumption. If you want to reach a busy C-suite executive, you have to tell the entire compelling story right there in their feed as they scroll.
And the report strongly warns against what it calls the viral illusion.
Oh man, this is such a dangerous trap for marketers. You can post a funny cat video or a highly polarizing clickbait headline and you'll get 3 million impressions.
Right.
But the conversion to actual business pipeline is 0.
Whereas strategic resonance, which is deep, highly expert niche content, is 9 times more likely to actually engage the C-suite.
Because the C-suite isn't logging on to look for cat videos, they're looking for specific answers to massive operational problems.
The report gives some really crisp writing advice for this new era. Hook story payoff with mandatory whitespace. And the best rule? Write like you talk.
Write like you talk. That is the only real antidote to AI slop.
AI slop, I see it literally everywhere now. Posts that start with, in today's fast-paced digital landscape.
It's an instant unfollow for me. Our brains are rapidly evolving to just naturally filter that generic tone out. We crave a real human voice. We want vulnerability. We want highly specific details.
Speaking of getting the AI to actually do better work, though, because we clearly still have to use these tools, there is a mention in the report of an advanced prompting technique called recursive metacognition.
I know this sounds like total Star Trek technobabble, but it's actually extremely practical.
It comes from a recent MIT research technique, right?
Yes. So think about how most average people use AI right now. They treat it like a slot machine. They type a simple prompt, they pull the lever, and they just blindly accept whatever text comes out.
And usually that first answer is pretty mediocre.
Recursive metacognition means you fundamentally change the dynamic. You treat the AI like a smart but inexperienced junior employee. You ask it to break a complex problem into multiple distinct parts.
Okay.
And then, crucially, you ask it to actively check its own work from multiple perspectives.
Like saying, hey, look at what you just wrote. Is it actually factually true? What are the strongest counterarguments to your own points?
Exactly. You ask it to score its own confidence level on the answer it just provided. You tell it to critique the plan from the specific perspective of a cynical financial auditor.
So you literally force the AI to show its work.
Yes, and the documented result is about a 110% improvement in performance on complex logic tasks. It fundamentally turns the AI from a simple yes man into a rigorous panel of diverse experts.
That is such a massive power user tip. Use the machine to actively interrogate the machine.
It's really the only way to get high-quality, reliable output for big decisions.
We have covered so much ground today.
Yeah.
The investment paradox, the fragile hardware, the governance embassy, and the digital content landscape. But there's one final piece of the puzzle here.
Yeah.
And honestly, it feels almost completely counterintuitive in a report dedicated to the hyper-advanced future of AI.
The return to experience.
It feels oddly nostalgic.
It's not nostalgia at all, though. It's pure economics. Look, when AI is literally everywhere, digital competency becomes a cheap commodity. Digital content is free. Digital code is practically free.
So what actually becomes premium in that world?
What you can physically touch. The real-world experience. The report shares this incredibly lovely anecdote about physical jewelry design. The pure taper ring.
I became absolutely obsessed with this specific story while reading the report. It's about a mechanical engineer designing a wedding ring, right?
Yes. And he wasn't just trying to make it look pretty for a rendered Instagram photo. He rigorously applied design for manufacturing principles, DFMA.
He specifically mandated the taper of the metal, 1.8 millimeters tapering down to exactly 1.2 millimeters.
And why 1.2 millimeters? Because as an engineer, he knew that is the absolute limit of structural integrity for that specific precious metal.
Right.
If you make it any thinner, it bends and warps over time. If you make it any thicker, it's physically uncomfortable for the wearer.
And he also insisted on using single-piece investment casting.
To completely remove any soldering weak points. If you solder two pieces of metal together, that joint is exactly where it will eventually snap. If you cast it as one single continuous piece, it's structurally solid forever.
Elegance plus yield.
That is the core mantra, and the report uses this ring as a brilliant metaphor for everything we've discussed today. Truly great design isn't just about how sleek something looks on a screen. It's about how reliably it can actually be manufactured and used in the messy real world.
How does that specifically apply back to AI systems?
An AI system that looks amazing in a controlled stage demo, but completely breaks down when the internet speed drops has zero yield.
Right.
A system that is robust, highly compliant, and quietly solves a real physical problem. That is the pure taper.
It's about fundamental quality.
It's about the human moat. In this emerging experience economy, the market research clearly shows consumers heavily prioritize decision simplicity and privacy-first personalization. They just want to feel genuinely taken care of by another human.
So the actionable advice here for companies and marketers is you have to build in an experience layer.
Stop hiding behind the automated dashboard. Create real community sessions. Do live human onboarding for your biggest clients.
Don't just send me a generative PDF manual. Actually get on a video call with me.
Or invite me to an in-person workshop. Real human community is the ultimate unhackable moat. AI can generate an infinite amount of content, but it physically cannot generate community.
AI cannot generate community. That is a profoundly true statement.
It can simulate the look of it, maybe, but we can instinctively feel the difference, just like we can physically feel the weight difference between that solid, pure taper ring and a cheap, hollow, 3D printed knockoff.
We are definitely getting much better at spotting the digital fakes.
We really are. And that brings us right to the final countdown. We have covered a truly massive amount of ground today.
We really have. So we are looking closely at this critical 90-day window from right now, late February 2026 until April.
And just to remind you why April is the deadline.
Because that's when the major regulatory timelines officially kick in globally. And that's when Q2 fiscal strategies are locked in stone.
It's a massive collision of 5 distinct shifts. AI regulation coming online, privacy-first customer demands the rise of agentic workflows, a cooling macroeconomy, and the sudden return of real physical experiences.
It is a staggering amount for any operator to juggle.
It is, but the primary provocative thought from the report is this. The next 90 days will permanently separate the disciplined operators from the rest of the pack.
It's not about the tool. It's about the integration.
That really should be the official bumper sticker for 2026.
So I want to directly challenge you listening right now. We've thrown a ton of concepts at you today. The investment paradox, the plastic cover, the science project team, the embassy protocol.
Which of these 5 major shifts are you actually budgeting time and money for?
Are you hunting down and fixing your plastic levers? Are you actively building your embassy? Or are you just sitting back and hoping the AI magically solves it all for you?
If you're just hoping the AI solves it, you are rapidly becoming part of that 56% getting zero return on investment.
Ouch. But very fair. Now, before we close, I have to bring up the PF scam warning from the very end of the report.
Oh, absolutely. We cannot skip that.
It's a specific reference to the Indian market regarding provident funds. But the underlying lesson is completely universal. The report warns about companies that are basically just committing theft with extra steps.
Right.
They use flashy, high-tech software to hide the fact that they aren't even depositing mandatory retirement funds for their own employees.
It's a massive failure of basic operational integrity, and the direct connection to AI here is crucial.
How so?
Well, if you physically cannot trust a company to pay its basic legal employee obligations, how on earth can you trust their complex AI agents with your sensitive data?
If they are cheating on the PF, they're almost certainly cheating on data privacy too.
100%. Stop being an NPC in your own financial story. That's the exact line from the author. Governance isn't just about setting up high-tech firewalls. It's about foundational ethics. If the concrete foundation is rotten, the shiny AI skyscraper you build on top of it will inevitably fall.
That is incredibly sobering. Trust really is the only currency left. Which brings me to one final thought that kind of builds on everything we've discussed today.
Let's hear it.
We talk about software as labor and creating these agentic workflows with human owners. But I wonder if treating AI as a quasi-colleague instead of just a software tool is going to create a really weird psychological dependency.
Right. That is interesting.
Like if the AI is doing 40% of the cognitive heavy lifting, what happens to the human brain's ability to maintain that strategic generalist mindset? If we rely completely on the machine to show its work, do we eventually forget how to check the work ourselves?
That's the ultimate glass cannon right there. If the human in the loop forgets how to be the human, we are in serious trouble. Real technology doesn't replace people, it restores them. That's the final powerful word from the report.
It restores them to higher value work, to the strategic generalist role, to the community builder role.
Exactly. The ultimate goal here is to take the robot out of the human.
Well, this has been an incredibly dense one, but I feel like we've actually unpacked... Wait, sorry, I used a banned word.
Strike one for the host.
Okay, let me try again. We have rigorously analyzed the reality of the factory floor.
Much better. You survived the playbook.
Thank you so much for guiding us through the messy physics of it all today.
It was absolutely my pleasure.
And to all of you listening right now, check your firmware, go check your plastic levers, and we will see you in the next deep dive.
Stay safe out there. Bye, everyone.